Two tails, one head. Yin yang. Two heads, one tail. Yang yin. Two heads, one tail. Yang yin. Two heads, one tail, yang yin. Two tails, one head. Yang yang. Three tails. Old yin. read a passage from Awakening to the Tao. Another treasure from Taoist adept I-ming. This is a collection of 142 of the master's brief but admirably lucid essays on living according to the Tao. Written in 1816 when Lu was nearly 80 years old, this text encapsulates a lifetime of study and contemplation of the principles and practices of Taoism. Wine from mash, gruel from rice. To make wine, you must use fermented mash. Without fermentation, mash does not make wine. To make gruel, you must use rice. Without rice, you cannot make gruel. It is because fermented mash has the energy of wine to begin with that it can produce wine. And it is because rice is the essential part of the grain that it can make gruel. Each accords with its own kind. What I realize as I observe this is the Tao of the same kind of essence and life following each other. Essence here means the natural essence, not temperament. It is the essence in which temperament is sublimated and dissolved. Life means the natural life, not a short or long span. It is the life which is not different, whether the span is short or long. Those cultivating reality who want to cultivate essence and life must seek the seed of essence and life. And when they find the seed, they must cultivate it. Only then can essence and life be perfected. When the wrong seed is cultivated, essence and life are instead damaged. The seed is outside, yet is not a material substance. The seed is inside, yet is not bodily fluid or air. Anything that has form is not of a kind with our essence and life, and so cannot be used to realize essence and life. If you want to know the true seed of essence and life, it is nothing but the original, innate, primal, true, unified energy. This energy is imperceptible and ungraspable. It cannot be found in the body, nor can it be found outside the body. It is not apart from the body, yet it is not attached to the body either. It is between ecstasy and trance, hidden in the realm of empty space, silence. Internalized, it is true emptiness. Externalized, it is ineffable existence. It cannot be communicated in words, cannot be depicted in writing. If we were to insist on an illustration, it would simply be a circle. When names are forced on it, Confucians call it the absolute. Buddhists call it complete awareness. Taoists call it the golden pill. The absolute complete awareness, the gold pill, though there are three names, the actuality is one. This alone is the true seed of essence and life. To investigate principle means to investigate this true seed. To fulfill nature means to fulfill this true seed. To arrive at the meaning of life means to arrive at this true seed. Knowing this true seed and cultivating it back to its original state, using this to cultivate essence, one can clarify essence. Using this to cultivate life, one can establish life. Therefore, the classic triplex unity says, it is easy to work with the same kind, hard to work with what is not of the same kind. This is like the need for fermented mash to make wine and rice to make gruel. Bells ring, drums resound. When a bell is struck, it rings. When a drum is beaten, it resounds. This is because they are solid outside and empty within. It is because they have nothing inside that they are able to ring and resound. What I realize as I observe this is the Tao of true emptiness and ineffable existence. True emptiness is like the inner openness of a bell or a drum. Ineffable existence is like the sounding of a bell or a drum when struck. If people can keep this true emptiness as their essence and utilize this ineffable existence as their function, ever serene yet ever responsive yet ever serene, tranquil and unstirring, yet sensitive and effective yet tranquil and unstirring, empty yet not empty yet empty, aware and efficient, lively and active, refining everything in the great furnace of creation, then when the dirt is gone, the mirror is clear. When the clouds disperse, the moon appears, revealing the indestructible body of reality. They transcend yin and yang and creation and merge with the eternity of space. Marionettes and kites. The reason a marionette can nod its head and a kite can fly into the sky is because someone is manipulating it with a string. What I realize as I observe this is the Tao of the spiritual working of movement and stillness in the human body. The human body is like a marionette or a kite, something inert. The spirit is like a person. Energy is like the string. When the spirit operates the energy, the body is alive. It can be active, and it can be still. This is like a person using a string to manipulate a marionette or a kite. The spirit operates the energy operates the body. Therefore, it is possible to act and rest. It is possible to speak. If those who cultivate reality know how to control the energy by the spirit and nurture the spirit by the energy, then spirit and energy combine, and in the midst of ecstatic trance, there is vitality. That vitality is most real. Gather and internalize it, and transmutation is endless. Moreover, it is then possible to manipulate heaven and earth, not just the ephemeral body. Parrots and monkeys. A parrot can be taught to speak. A monkey can be taught to act. They are able to do these things not because of their original natures, but because people gradually teach them. What I realize as I observe this is the Tao of seeking teachers and finding companions. Parrots are birds, monkeys are animals. When birds and animals are guided by humans, they can speak human speech or dance human dances. How much the more so can humans, the most intelligent of creatures, ascend to the realm of lofty illumination if they have the guidance of enlightened teachers and the aid of good companions. If you know enough to submit to enlightened teachers, associate with good companions, sincerely concentrate on clarification of truth, borrow their knowledge to break through your own ignorance, borrow their lofty vision to expand your own ignorant views, then even if you are ignorant, you will become enlightened. And even if you are weak, you will become strong. Then there is no reason why you cannot become a spiritual immortal and a Buddha. Ignorant students follow their own minds and act arbitrarily. Indulging in guesswork, they consider themselves bright and will not humble themselves. Thus they misapprehend the road ahead. Though they are said to deceive others, in reality they are deceiving themselves. This is looking on the great matter of essence and life as child's play. It is no wonder they strive all their lives with no attainment. Is this not a pity? Elm sheaths, shepherd's purse, and wheat. In spring, most things sprout, but the elm sheaths fall. In autumn, most things become dormant, but the shepherd's purse and wheat grow. This is representation of negativity within positivity, and positivity within negativity. What I realize as I observe this is the Tao of combined use of benevolence and duty. Benevolence is the soft path based on compassion and love. Duty is the hard path based on judgment and administration. If one is only benevolent without duty, then love will lack distinction of right and wrong. If one is dutiful without benevolence, then judgment will become oppressive. Both of these states miss the center. When benevolence and duty are used together, then there is decisiveness within benevolence, so that right and wrong do not get mixed up. There is flexibility within duty, so that there is no dogmatic rigidity. Thus, the path of balance and harmony is not lost. Desiring water and fire. When the weather is hot, you want water. Drink water and you experience relief from the heat. When the weather is cold, you want fire. If you have fire, you will not be cold. What I realize as I observe this is the Tao of mutual necessity of yin and yang. The Tao does not arise from lone yin, does not grow from isolated yang. When yang culminates, yin succeeds it. When yin culminates, yang succeeds it. There is neither excess of yang nor bias towards yin. Yin and yang are in harmony. Firmness and flexibility balance each other. Thus, when one unified energy flows, the original source is complete. The mechanism of life is unceasing. Essence can be fulfilled, life can be established. Unmoved by myriad things, not burdened by myriad affairs, one is beyond the world while in its very midst. Otherwise, if yin and yang are isolated, separated from one another, firmness and flexibility do not match. The mechanism which gives life has already ceased, and no growth is seen. Instead, there is decay, degeneration that culminates in death. Heading south, heading north. When you head south, you turn your back on the north. You see the south and not the north. When you head north, you turn your back on the south. You see the north and not the south. What I realize as I observe this is the Tao of picking out the good and holding to it. If people's minds are all good, what they see is good. What they think is good, what they say is good, what they associate with is good, and what they do is good. All of their actions, day and night, are good. They only know there is good and do not know there is bad. If people's minds are all bad, what they see is bad, what they think is bad, what they say is bad, what they associate with is bad, and what they do is bad. All of their actions, day and night, are bad. They only know there is bad and do not know there is good. If you see good, you do not see bad. If you see bad, you do not see good. Falsehood and truth do not stand together. Loyalty and treachery do not coexist. Therefore, developed people see good as something they have yet to attain, and they see what is not good as like plunging into boiling water. They preserve the Tao as though they were guarding a treasure with a single-minded will. Even though thwarted 100 times, they do not turn back. They never change, even until death, and do not stop working until they've reached profound attainment of self-realization. Cutting weeds, planting trees. When you cut weeds, it is necessary to dig out the roots, for if the roots are not eliminated, the weeds will regrow. When you plant trees, it is necessary to nurture the roots, for if the roots are not firm, the trees will wither. What I realize as I observe this is the Tao of eliminating the artificial and cultivating the real. People's personal desires and habit energies are all artificial. The artificial is like weeds. People's basic essence and natural goodness are what is real. The real is like a tree. When you get rid of the artificial, it is necessary to root out all personal desires and habit energies. Only then will they not regrow. If you leave even the slightest pollution, eventually it will grow insidiously, gradually increasing and causing great harm. When you cultivate the real, it is necessary to be constantly aware of the fundamental root of inherent natural reality, nurturing it all at all times, irrigating it with the water of the Spirit, keeping it warm with the fire of truth, not letting it be moved or disturbed, protecting it in every way, watching out for its safety in every condition. When you nurture the root until it is stable and firm, where the energy is full and the spirit is complete, only then can you immune to the influence of myriad things. Only then can you be immune to the influence of myriad things and the burden of myriad affairs. There will be no trouble after that. Therefore, when you eliminate artificiality, you must reach the point where there is no artificiality at all. Just as when you cut weeds, you must eliminate the roots entirely. When you cultivate reality, you must reach the point where there is no unreality at all. Just as when you plant trees, you must make the roots firm and deep. An ancient scripture says, as long as there is the slightest negative energy remaining, you will not become immortal. As long as there is the slightest positive energy remaining, you will not die. This is really true. A pitcher full, a pitcher half full. When water fills a pitcher, it overflows, and when it overflows, there is lack. When water half fills a pitcher, then it does not leak out, and when there is no leakage, there is always a sufficiency. What I realize as I observe this is the Tao of filling and emptying, calamity and fortune. When people are self-satisfied and complacent, presuming upon their ability and talent, knowing how to go forward but not how to withdraw, knowing how to be strong but not how to be weak, regarding only themselves and ignoring others, proud and arrogant, then eventually this will bring on calamity. Then their self-satisfaction will be useless. When people are humble and self-effacing, deferring to others, conceding to others, not full of themselves, not proud in spite of their achievements, not arrogant in spite of their talent, always seeking out their own faults while honoring the excellence of others, knowing when they have enough, knowing when to stop, knowing both how to advance and how to withdraw. Eventually, this will bring on good fortune. Then they will rise from lowliness to exaltation. Therefore it is said that the modest receive increase, while the self-satisfied bring on loss. Modesty is better than self-satisfaction. Pottery and decoration. Pottery has a basic constitution and is formed without artifice. Decorate it with colors, inlay it with gold and jade, and though it may be beautifully adorned, it has lost its basic constitution. What I realize as I observe this is the Tao of returning to simplicity and going back to purity. The basic constitution of human beings when they are born is pure and flawless, but when it mixes with temporal conditioning, senses and objects are activated. Intellectual knowledge opens up. Added to this are accumulating habits and attachments. Those who like drink are deluded by drink. Those who like sex are deluded by sex. Those who like material goods are deluded by material goods. Those who like energy are deluded by energy. Those who like wealth and status are deluded by wealth and status. Those who like sport are deluded by sport. People pursue their ambitions with all sorts of scheming and cleverness, follow their desires with deceit and hypocrisy. All of their doings, all of their actions are in pursuit of the false. They take what is painful for pleasure, take poison for medicine. Their original basic constitution is completely buried away. This goes to such an extreme that they lose their health and forfeit their lives without a care, bringing calamity and misfortune on themselves without even realizing it. This is why the ancient sages taught people to understand the good and go back to the beginning, to return to simplicity and purity, simply to restore the original state. When you restore the original state, you are clean and naked, bare and untrammeled, without a trace of defilement, having shed clinging to objects entirely. The state is the embryo of sagehood, the seed of immortal enlightenment. This is what is called the real human being. Having a body, having energy. Whatever has a body assumes form and so must disintegrate. Whatever has energy is born and so must die. This body and energy are the basis of becoming and disintegration, birth and death. What I realize as I observe this is the Tao of shedding birth and death. People receive the energy of the temporal five forces which form their bodies. In the body is stored the energy of the five forces. This energy in the human body acts up to become the five robbers, which are joy, anger, sadness, happiness, and craving. These five robbers are cohorts that strip away the real basis. Therefore, what has birth must have death. Perfected human beings transform the temporal and restore the primal. They rest their bodies in open space, store their spirits in silent tranquility. Uninvolved with the energy of the five forces, they are unmoved by myriad things. They have no smoke, no fire, like dead wood or cold ashes. They have no form, no shape, like the sky or a valley. Heaven and earth cannot constrain them, creation cannot rule them. This is called taking over yin and yang, controlling the working of energy. You master your own life and are not mastered by heaven. This is because heaven and earth can employ what has a body, but cannot employ the bodiless. Heaven and earth can employ what has energy, but cannot employ what has no energy. Heaven and earth can employ what has mind, but cannot employ the mindless. If you are mindless, but cannot employ the mindless, if you are mindless, then you have no energy. If you have no energy, you have no body. There is only open space. What can heaven and earth do to open space? As far as causing birth and death, formation and disintegration, they can only cause birth and death. Formation and disintegration of the body and energy, how can they cause birth and death? Formation and disintegration of that open space. An empty valley transmitting a voice. When a person shouts in an empty valley, there is a reverberation of sound. In folklore, this is called the valley spirit. Because it has a voice but no form, it is called the spirit of the valley. What I realize as I observe this is the Tao of nurturing the spirit in emptiness. If people can be empty within, this is the valley. Within emptiness, there is a point of spiritual energy hidden inside. This is the spirit. This valley is tranquil and unperturbed. The spirit is sensitive and effective. Only the valley can be spiritual. Without the valley, there is no spirituality. The marvel of the spirit is only in the valley. People of the world are full of personal desires that block up the spiritual opening, polluting it in 100 ways. How can they have a valley? Since they do not have the valley, they are confused and troubled, like drunkards or dreamers. Their spiritual energy wanes away, so how can they have the spirit? Once they have lost the spirit, even though alive, they are as if dead. If you can sweep away all entanglements and wash away accumulated obsessions so as to be clean and naked, bare and free, with nothing at all, then in that empty valley there will naturally be something indefinable with essential vitality. A non-psychological spirit that is responsive, effective, and wise. Let go. It fills the universe. Wrapped up, it is stored in secrecy. Thereby one can be a peer of heaven above and earth below. Our bottom trigram or inner trigram is solid broken broken, which is the trigram. Zen, thunder. Thunder is shock, upheaval, and the spark of the new. In old Chinese belief, thunder slept in the earth over winter and erupted from it in spring, awakening living things into new growth. Thunder is our basic drive for renewal. He inspires initiative and decisive action. He is the stimulus that sets things in motion. He is the eldest son of the Trigram family, the first connection of heaven, potential, with earth, realization. Yang makes itself known here, emerging into the field and beginning to grow. Thunder belongs to the east and to spring. Our top or outer trigram of our primary hexagram will be read as broken, solid, broken, which is Kan, water. Kan is deep water, flowing and formless. He is the complement of Li, dark where Li is bright, unconscious to her sharp lucidity, and represents a more fluid, intuitive, and emotional way of perceiving. This is danger, exposure, and solitude, and the need to respond with courageous self-reliance when confronted by the haunting unknown. Water is the middle sun, situated in the north, associated with midwinter and midnight. Our first hexagram then will be deep water above thunder. Once our changing line, our old yin line transforms, it will transform to a young yang, giving us a top trigram or outer trigram of broken, solid, solid, which is the trigram Xun, wind or wood. Xun is both wind and living plants. Whatever penetrates, spreads, and grows, shaping itself to the space available or shaping that space to its own nature. She is responsive flexibility, sensitively improvising and adapting. Like the wind, she can always find a way through because she never creates any resistance, and so her influence is subtle and gradual but far-reaching. In the family of trigrams, Xun is the eldest daughter, gentle and submissive. She belongs to the southeast and to late spring and early summer. That will mean we have Xun, wind, or wood above thunder in our secondary or supporting hexagram. So our primary hexagram will be three. And our supporting hexagram will be 42. We will start by reading from the Taoist I-ming, written by I-ming in 1796 as a Taoist adept. Thomas Cleary has translated it. In the beginning, there are succinct definitions of each hexagram, so we will start there. Three is difficulty. Beginning of the process of fostering the strength of primal energy, the difficult process of breaking out of acquired temporal conditioning and bringing the primordial to the fore, the process known as advancing the yang fire. Or supporting hexagram 42, he calls increase. Entering the Tao gradually without either rushing or lagging, increasing the positive while decreasing the negative. We will start by reading the text, and then we will read the commentary. How our reading works together with all the primary hexagrams, supporting hexagram, and changing lines to answer our question that we bring to the I Ching or consult the oracle with. That question having the general context of how can I act in creative relation with the spirits or forces shaping this moment of time? We understand the answer to that question when we understand how the parts of our reading work together. The key to understanding a reading is to know your way around its main components, how they fit together, and the different roles they play. If your reading includes changing lines, then you will need to understand primary hexagram, relating hexagram, and changing lines together. The two hexagrams in conversation with one another map out your whole answer. The primary hexagram shows you quite directly what your answer involves. The relating hexagram generally describes what the answer is about for you. It sets the primary hexagram in a broader context, an influence, a direction of travel, an underlying issue that has to do with you and your relationship to it all. If the two hexagrams map out a landscape for you, then the changing lines stick a pin in that map to say you are here, or at least here are some places you may find yourself. They are the immediate answer to your question. As the most specific, focused part of a reading, their message always takes precedence over all other elements. For example, the primary hexagram might describe a reassuringly secure situation, but a changing line could warn how insecure your position is within it. Primary hexagram 3, difficulty. In difficulty, creativity and development are effective if correct. Do not use. There is a place to go. It is beneficial to set up a ruler. Explanation. Difficulty means having trouble progressing. As for the qualities of the hexagram, above is the pitfall of water, below the movement of thunder. Action in danger cannot easily get out of danger, so it is called difficulty. This hexagram represents starting the advancement of yang. It follows on the hexagram heaven. Heaven is the quality of strength. Advancement of yang is advancement of that strength. It is precisely because of not being strong that one promotes strength. The quality of strength is primordial real yang, the original true energy. When this energy mixes with acquired conditioning, it is concealed. But even though it is not manifest, it never completely disappears. Sometimes it does appear. But people are confused by things of the world, enveloped in wandering thoughts, so they miss it even when it is right there, unwilling to recognize reality. When this primal energy appears, this is what is called the living midnight in our bodies. At this time, we are merged in the qualities of heaven and earth, joined with the light of sun and moon, harmonized with the order of the four seasons. This is the gate of yin and yang, the door of life and death, the wellspring of essence and life, the root of strength and submission, the crucible for creating life, the alchemical furnace. The original energy of primordial true yang is herein. Those who know it diligently cultivate it, restoring the primordial within the temporal. From vagueness, it becomes clear. From one yang, it gradually grows until it inevitably reaches the pure completeness of 6 yangs. This means that in difficulty, too, there is a path of creativity and development. However, people are restricted by temperament, influenced by accumulated habit. The primal energy of true yang is deeply buried. Even though there be a time of restoration, the true sane energy is weak and aberrated energy is strong. As long as the true does not prevail over the false, it cannot immediately expand and rise. So it is a matter of carefully containing and securely storing it, preserving this living potential, not letting it be damaged by external influences, making it the basis of restoration. This is why the text says effective if correct. And it also says do not use, there is a place to go. Correctness is not vacant emptiness without action. Do not use does not mean there is absolutely nothing to do. But when you have done things by the human mentality for a long time, the mind of Tao is not manifest. Restoring the positive within negativity is action in danger. If you proceed recklessly, desirous of rapid progress, you will increase the danger. If you want to restore positivity, it is best to first correct the mind. When the text says it is beneficial to set up a ruler, this symbolizes correcting the mind. The ruler is the leader of a country. The mind is the leader of the body. Set up a ruler and the difficulties of the nation can gradually be overcome. Rectify the mind and the perils of the body can gradually be dissolved. Once the mind is right, the root is firm, and the original energy does not dissipate. Then one can advance the fire according to the time, gradually culling, gradually refining. Then what has been lost can be regained. What has gone can be restored. Benefit lies in correctness while in action. This action is not random action, but properly timed action. Then whatever is begun develops, and whatever develops bears fruit. Hexagram 42 increase, our supporting hexagram. For increase, it is beneficial to go somewhere. It is beneficial to cross great rivers. Explanation. Increase is adding what is lacking. As for the qualities of the hexagram, above is wind, entering, and below is thunder, active. Acting so as to enter gradually, entering without either rushing or lagging, it is therefore called increase. This hexagram represents using reduction in the midst of increase. It follows on the previous hexagram, liberation. In liberation, the yang energy is active and gets out of danger, gradually growing and maturing, adding good that is lacking. However, to increase good is not possible without reducing what is not good. Increasing good and decreasing what is not good. Increasing and increasing again, reducing and reducing again, until there is no more increase or decrease possible. Finally reaching the state of utter good without evil, one is then done. Therefore, it is beneficial to go somewhere. Since beginningless time, people have accumulated faults and defects, the seeds of habitual compulsion growing deeper as time goes on. Now, if they want to do something of benefit to essence and life, they cannot accomplish this unless they first extract the seeds of these compulsive habits. But the seeds of habitual compulsions cannot be removed all at once. There are processes, procedures. This does not admit falsehood. It requires orderly progress, putting forth effort at every step, increasing the mind of Tao, decreasing the human mentality, increasing sane energy, decreasing aberrated energy. Only when there is such reduction within increase is it possible to succeed, to make it beneficial to go somewhere. The benefit is simply in one's practice producing beneficial phenomena. But to practice what is beneficial, it is important to have a beginning and a conclusion. If there is a beginning but no conclusion, one's acts are still of no benefit. There is no gain but loss. Therefore, the way of gain and beneficial action lies in concentrated will, making thoroughly dedicated effort, made from within difficulty and hardship. Only when one has dissolved the seeds of compulsive habit of time immemorial will one be able to restore one's original being. Therefore, it is also beneficial to cross great rivers. Great rivers are extremely dangerous. There's one's life hangs in the balance. There, one's life hangs in the balance. If one can go through extremely dangerous places, then wherever there is no danger, one is at an advantage. According to the qualities of the hexagram, acting so as to progress harmoniously, gradually applying effort, without rushing or lagging, this is the path of increasing and decreasing according to the time. We'll go back to our primary hexagram to read our changing line 6, which has the general context of beyond the main action, reviewing experience, asking what comes next. And this is our most focused part of our reading, which takes precedence over all other elements. In darkness is development, line 6 of hexagram 3. Mounted on a horse, not going forward, weeping tears of blood. Explanation. At the end of difficulty, this is now the time to get out of difficulty. Weak and helpless, one is astride a horse but does not go forward, and has no whip in one's hand. Though true yang is in view, one still cannot get it oneself, and weeps tears of blood. Of what use is it in fact? This is being small and incapable of greatness, having difficulty even when there is no difficulty. Generally speaking, in the course of operating the fire advancing yang, it is necessary to know the proper timing. By knowing the time to take the medicine, using the temporal to restore the primordial, one can get out of difficulty. One can resolve difficulty. If you do not know the proper timing and go too far or not far enough, real yang will be trapped by negative energy and will not be able to get out. This is why the statement of the hexagram says that creativity and development are effective if correct. Only when correct can they be effective. When effective, the creativity leads to development. Creativity and development that are effective by correctness means waiting for the appropriate time to get out of difficulty. We will also now turn to the commentary section, which doesn't include the changing lines. So we will take note that our changing lines are still the most focused part of our reading for us. Our primary hexagram 3, difficulty, water above, thunder below. Thunder in the clouds is held back. The superior person orders and arranges. Difficulty means being held back. The reason water on the top of the hexagram is here referred to as clouds rather than water is that rain falls from clouds. When thunder rumbles in the clouds and there is already the sense of rain, but the rain has not yet begun to fall, just when yin and yang have intertwined and are about to bring to pass what has not yet been possible, this is the image of difficulty. What superior people see in this is that primordial celestial energy is trapped by the force of mundane conditioning. And though it occasionally becomes manifest, it is inhibited and cannot come forth freely. Without effort to foster the celestial and control the mundane, it is hard to gain access to this primal energy and easy to lose it, missing it even when it is right there. Therefore, based on its manifest action, the superior person orders and arranges the primordial celestial energy, in the sense of cultivating and maintaining it. To order means to harmonize the celestial and the earthly. To arrange means to adjust their relative proportions. Order without proper arrangement cannot perfect anything. Knowledge of the ingredients without knowledge of the process cannot accomplish the Tao. At the point where one yang arises on the ground of water, the passage of contact of earth and heaven, the dividing bridge of life and death, the moment when both disaster and good fortune are possible, practitioners of Tao should quickly set to work, take command, carefully guard the budding awareness, and not let it be harmed by invasion of the force of mundanity. When you gather the celestial energy as it grows, working uninterruptedly, ordering and arranging, promoting the primal and minimizing the secondary, knowing when to stop at sufficiency, if you do not slip up, even though the celestial energy does not come through at first, eventually it will unfold and expand, like thunder rumbling in the clouds, sweet rain falling of itself. This is what is meant by the saying, after a long darkness, the light is brilliant. And hexagram 42, our supporting hexagram in the back, is called increase. Wind above, thunder below. Wind and thunder increase. Thus do superior people take to good when they see it, and correct whatever faults they have. Increase is augmentation and enhancement. Above is wind, and below is thunder. This is wind and thunder meeting. When thunder rolls, wind rises. The sound of wind enhances the thunder. This is the image of increase. What superior people see in this is that to increase goodness, it is necessary to reduce faults. And to reduce faults, it is necessary to increase goodness. Increase requires reduction. Reduction complements increase. So the increase has no end. Therefore, when they see good, they take to it. And when they have faults, they correct them. When people are first born, they are totally good without evil. That is, goodness is inherent in people, while faults are originally non-existent in people. It is because they are unaware of good that they have faults. If they take to good when they see it and continue to move toward goodness until there is nothing they do that is not good, they will end up at ultimate good. If they correct faults they have and keep correcting them until there is nothing faulty in them, they will finally become impeccable. Taking to good means being able to be firm. Correcting faults means being able to be flexible. Firmness must be like the powerful, direct action of thunder. Flexibility must be like the gentle, gradual advance of wind. Being vigorous, one can enter into goodness. Being easygoing, one can be without fault. Firmness and flexibility complement each other. What was there before returns, and what occurred later disappears. The primal is restored, and the acquired dissolves. By this enhancement, one reaches ultimate good with no evil, the stage of complete integration with the celestial design. So the work of taking to good and correcting faults is no small matter. We will now read what we read there, our primary hexagram, then supporting hexagram, then our changing lines. Line 6, out of James Dekorne's website, where he synthesizes several different commentaries and then gives his own editor's notes, which are often very valuable. He's a practitioner of the Tao himself, I would call him. And primary hexagram, I've given links to his site, which is a great resource in the description. Hexagram 3 he calls difficulty. Other titles might be difficulty at the beginning, the symbol of bursting, sprouting, hoarding, distress, organizational growth pains, difficult beginnings, growing pains, initial obstacles, initial hardship. The judgment. Leg. Difficulty indicates progress and success through firm correctness. Action should not be undertaken lightly, and it is wise to seek help. Wilhelm/Baines. Difficulty at the beginning works supreme success, furthering through perseverance. Nothing should be undertaken. It furthers one to appoint helpers. Blofeld. Difficulty followed by sublime success. Persistence in a righteous course brings reward, but do not seek some new goal or destination. It is highly advantageous to consolidate the present position. The fundamental idea of this hexagram is that of birth and growth amidst difficulty, as with a sprouting seed becoming a young plant and forcing its way through the earth. Our affairs, being still in their early stages, are vulnerable. We must not wander forth, but attend to them until they ripen. Then, with the proper care, the seed will bring forth a splendid tree. The upper trigram, a pit, suggests a need for caution. But if we heed these omens, our success is assured. Lu, difficulty in the beginning, great success. It is of benefit to continue without planning to go someplace. One should find helpers. Ritsema/Karcher, sprouting. Spring growing, harvesting trial, no availing of, possessing directed going. Harvesting, installing feudatories. This hexagram describes your situation in terms of beginning growth. It emphasizes that collecting potential in preparation for arduous labor is the adequate way to handle it. Cleary 1. In difficulty, creativity and development are effective if correct. Do not use. There is a place to go. It is beneficial to set up a ruler. The image. Leg. The image of clouds and thunder forms difficulty. The superior man, in accordance with this, adjusts his measures of government as in sorting the threads of the warp and woof. Wilhelm/Baines, clouds and thunder, the image of difficulty at the beginning. Thus the superior man brings order out of confusion. Blofeld, this hexagram symbolizes lightning spewed forth by the clouds. Difficulty prevails. The superior man busies himself setting things in order. Lu, clouds and thunder symbolize difficulty at the beginning. The superior man makes order out of disorder. Ritsuma/Karcher, clouds, thunder, sprouting, a chunsu, or superior man, or chief son, or superior person, uses the canons to coordinate. Canons equals standards, laws, regular, regulate, the 5 classics, the ideogram, warp threads in a loom. Commentary. Confucius/Legge, difficulty is experienced as heaven and earth begin their intercourse, but correct action succeeds in the face of danger. By the action of thunder and rain, which are the attributes of the lower and upper trigrams, all between heaven and earth is filled up. But the conditions of the time are irregular and obscure. Authority should be delegated, but the feeling that rest and peace have been secured should not be indulged in even then. Legge. The written character for difficulty is pictorial and shows a plant struggling with difficulty as it rises above the surface of the earth. This initial difficulty is a metaphor for how struggle is the condition of a state which is emerging from disorder after a revolution. The author saw his social and political world in great disorder and difficult to reform, yet he had faith in himself and the destiny of his house. Let there be prudence and caution, with unswerving adherence to the right. Let the government of the different states be entrusted to good and able men, then all will be well. According to the arrangement of the 8 trigrams, heaven and earth are the parents of the other 6, who are their children. The firstborn son is the lower trigram of movement, and the secondborn son is the upper trigram of peril. McClatchy renders here, the figure of difficulty represents the hard and the soft beginning to have sexual intercourse, and bringing forth with suffering. Interesting. The power to move in the lower trigram is likely to produce great effects. To do this in perilous and difficult circumstances, symbolized by the upper trigram, requires firmness and correctness. Good princes throughout the realm will help to remedy the political and social disorder of the times, but the supreme ruler should not trust his subordinates to the point of relaxing his vigilance. The lower trigram represents thunder, the upper represents rain clouds. The hexagram therefore places us in the atmosphere of a thunderstorm, a metaphor for the situation of a political state in difficulty. When the thunder has pealed and the clouds have discharged their burden of rain, the atmosphere is cleared and there is a feeling of relief. Anthony. This hexagram means that we have not yet found the correct path. It also means confusion, too many possibilities. Nothing is clear. This lack of clarity is the hindrance, referred to in the first line of the hexagram. In the second line, the remedies that come forth are inappropriate. In the first stages of dealing with a problem, we are tempted to grasp at solutions, whereas we should wait until the proper actions become clear. Notes and paraphrases. Judgment. Under the conditions of difficulty, it is best to mark time while seeking assistance. The superior man uses careful analysis to separate order from confusion. Wilhelm's title for this hexagram is Difficulty at the Beginning. I prefer difficulty because it is a situation encountered at any phase of the work, not just the beginning. Difficulty is experienced because confusion and multiplicity prevail during the initial phase of any creative activity. Thoughts and feelings proliferate and threaten to overwhelm the mind with infinite complexity. The only way to proceed under such circumstances is to carefully sort out the components of the situation and arrange them in categories and in order of importance. To sort the threads of the warp and woof is to weave a tangled mess into a tapestry. The orderly sequence of the hexagrams gives us an image of what takes place under the hexagram of difficulty. When there were heaven and earth, then afterwards all things were produced. What fills up the space between heaven and earth are those individual things, hence the dynamic and magnetic are followed by difficulty. Difficulty means filling up. Filling up is rendered as fullness in some translations. This is the exact meaning of the Gnostic term pleroma, or fullness, which Jung correlates with the collective unconscious or objective psyche. These are interior dimensions from which emanate the archetypal energies which we experience as instinctual drives and emotional complexes. This is the hyperspace from which the self, via the oracle, responds to our queries and directs the work. Thus we see that the third hexagram, following the creation of the cosmic pair of opposites in the first two figures, represents a dialectical progression. Lao Tzu, who wrote the Tao Te Ching some 600 years after the I-ming was committed to writing, describes this unfolding process. Out of Tao, one is born. Out of one, two. Out of two, three. Out of three, the created universe. The created universe carries the yin at its back and the yang in front. Through the union of their pervading principles, it reaches harmony. The identical idea is found in many traditions, giving it the status of an archetype within human consciousness. It is not necessary to be familiar with the technical terminology of Kabbalah to recognize that the same idea is being discussed in the following passage. It's a quote from D. Fortune, The Mystical Kabbalah. In Chokmah and Bina, we have the archetypal positive and negative, the primordial maleness and femaleness, established while countenance beheld not countenance, and manifestation was incipient. It is between these two polarizing aspects of manifestation, the supernal father and the supernal mother, that the web of life is woven, souls going back and forth between them like a weaver's shuttle. In our individual lives, in our psychological rhythms, and in the history of the rise and fall of nations, we observe the same rhythmic periodicity. This idea has been stated very simply. Here's a quote from W.B. Yeats in A Vision. All things are a single form which has divided and multiplied in time and space. Quote from Black Elk. Is not the sky a father and the earth a mother? And are not all living things with feet or wings or roots their children? And also with poetic complexity in Genesis. In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. Now the earth was a formless void, there was darkness over the deep, and God's Spirit hovered over the water. God said, let the waters teem with living creatures, and let birds fly above the earth within the vault of heaven. And so it was. God blessed them, saying, be fruitful, multiply, and fill the waters of the seas, and let the birds multiply upon the earth. There are some profound ideas in these images about the structure of human consciousness and the contents of the unconscious psyche. The basic idea is that of emanation, the creation of physical reality from a supreme principle in ordered hierarchies of increasing complexity. This concept is essential for a full understanding of the work. A quote from Gareth Knight in The Work of a Modern Occult Fraternity. The involution of man was his descent from the sphere of the spirit, developing bodies of a mental, emotional, and then physical nature until he manifested upon this planet. His evolution is to civilize this planet and to develop mastery of the physical, emotional, and mental planes, and relink himself in unity with God once more, thus completing the cycle. He came from God as an inexperienced spark of divine fire and returns to him with all the experience of manifestation as a Lord of humanity. In many systems of thought, the proliferation of forces is seen in sexual terms. The cosmic parents produce entities in male and female pairs, Gnostic syzygies, which in turn produce offspring. Hence, Confucius says, difficulty is experienced as heaven and earth begin their intercourse. That this has an explicit sexual connotation is confirmed by McClatchy. The figure of difficulty represents the hard and the soft beginning to have sexual intercourse and bringing forth with suffering. Thus we see that the correct and incorrect correlation, intercourse of dynamic male and magnetic female lines in any I Ching hexagram symbolizes the favorable, life-enhancing, or unfavorable, life-negating combinations of thought and feeling within the psyche. Suggestions for meditation. The sexual intercourse of heaven and earth is also described in hexagram number 11, harmony. In terms of these sexual metaphors, what does the term adultery imply in regard to the work? See hexagram number 44, Temptation, for further insight on this theme. Now we will turn to our supporting hexagram, 42. Increase, he calls it as well. Other titles might be the symbol of addition, gain, augmenting, help from above, benefit, advantage, profit, expansion. Judgment, leg. Increase denotes advantage in every movement which shall be undertaken. It will be advantageous even to cross the great stream. Blowfold, gain. It is favorable to have in view some goal or destination and to cross the great water or sea. Ritsama/Karcher, augmenting, harvesting, possessing directed going, harvesting, wading the great river. This hexagram describes your situation in terms of increase and advance. It emphasizes that expanding the quantity and quality of your involvement is the adequate way to handle it. To be in accord with the time, you are told to augment. The image. Leg. Wind over thunder, the image of increase. When the superior man perceives good, he moves toward it. When he perceives his faults, he eliminates them. Ritsama/Karcher, wind, thunder, augmenting. A Chunsu, or chief son, or superior person, uses visualizing improvement by consequence shifting. A Chunsu uses possessing excess, by consequence amending. Wu, wind and thunder make gain. Thus, when the Junsi sees a good deed, he improves his own at once. When he realizes he is making a mistake, he corrects it at once. Commentary. Confucius/Leg. Increase shows the upper trigram brilliantly decreased to augment the lower. What descends from above reaches to all below, and the satisfaction of the people is without limit. Advantage in movement is shown in the blessings dispensed by the second and fifth lines from their correct positions. The action of wood shows that it is advantageous to cross the great stream. Through the trigrams of movement and humility, there is unlimited daily advancement. Heaven dispenses and earth produces, and all proceeds according to the requirements of the time. Leg. Increase has the opposite meaning to hexagram number 41, compensating sacrifice, decrease. What King Wen had in mind was a ruler or a government operating to dispense benefits to the people and increase their resources. The two important lines in the figure are the correlates 2 and 5. The general auspice of the hexagram is one of being successful in one's enterprises and of overcoming the greatest difficulties. The formation of the trigrams here is the reverse of that in the preceding hexagram. The people are full of pleasure in the labors of the ruler for their good. The action of wood in the Confucian commentary refers to the upper trigram, which is the symbol of wind and wood. From wood boats are made on which the great stream may be crossed. In 3 hexagrams, this, 59 and 61, in which this is the upper trigram, we find mention made of crossing the great stream. In the image, thunder and wind are seen to increase one another, and their combination gives the idea of increase. Notes and paraphrases. Judgment. Take advantage of your opportunities. The superior man recognizes his duty and rectifies his mistakes, or accentuate the positive, eliminate the negative. If the ego's sacrifices for the good of the work are described in the previous hexagram, here we see the inverse image of that figure in which it is the self who bestows its blessings upon the psyche. The one implies the other. In the words of an old blues lyric, if you don't put something in, you can't get nothing out. The 41st and 42nd hexagrams are intimately related, and in their interaction portray the active progress of the work. To paraphrase the last sentence of the Confucian commentary, the self dispenses and the ego produces, and all proceeds according to the requirements of the time. A quote from Maimonides, 8 chapters. If a man continually weighs his actions and aims at the mean, he is in the highest of human ranks. In that way, he will come close to God and will attain what belongs to him. This is the most perfect of the ways of worship. We will now look at our changing line in our primary hexagram. Our changing line being line 6. Again, has the general context of beyond the main action, reviewing experience, asking what comes next. The 6th line, magnetic, shows its subjects, this is leg, subject with the horses of her chariot obliged to retreat, and weeping tears of blood in streams. Blowfold, he hesitates like a man trotting to and fro, or like one shedding blood and tears. Lu, he goes back and forth on horseback. He sheds tears of blood. Arrogance leads to misfortune, perhaps extreme misfortune. Commentary. Confucius/Leg. She weeps tears of blood and streams. How can the state thus emblemed continue long? She weeps tears of blood and streams. How can the state thus emblemed continue long? Wilhelm/Baines. How could one tarry long in this? Blowfold. How could a flow of blood and tears endure for long? In other words, our present troubles will pass away in time. Ritzema/Karcher. Wherefore permitting long-lived indeed? Cleary. Weeping tears of blood, what can last? Wu. Only despair remains. Leg. The 6th line is magnetic, as is her 3rd line correlate. She is at the extremity of peril. The game is up. What can remain for her in such a case but terror and abject weeping? Notes and paraphrases. Su. The man fails to overcome the initial difficulties and despair. Wing. You have lost your perspective. You can no longer see your initial difficulties realistically, nor can you find your way out. This is disgraceful and will cause you much regret. It is best to begin again. Anthony. Desire and fear prevail. The child in us rules. Despairing, we give up our path. One should not persist in this. Editor. Lines 2, 4, and 6 all show horses in retreat. Strong images of psychological turmoil and confusion. 2 and 4 have proper correlates, however, so they present the possibility of at least some kind of reconciliation. Here, the correlate is line 3, who is depicted as being lost in the woods. At its most neutral, the image is one of severe disunion. Wilhelm and Blowfold state that the situation is not a lasting one, so all need not be lost if you seek a totally new and perhaps currently unrecognized connection. A quote from Roberto Osseagoli in Psychosynthesis. In our ordinary life, we are limited and bound in 1,000 ways. The prey of illusions and phantasms, the slaves of unrecognized complexes, tossed hither and thither by external influences, blinded and hypnotized by deceiving appearances. No wonder then that man in such a state is often discontented, insecure and changeable in his moods, thoughts, and actions. Feeling intuitively that he is one, and yet finding that he is divided unto himself, he is bewildered and fails to understand either himself or others. No wonder that he, not knowing or understanding himself, has no self-control and is continually involved in his own mistakes and weaknesses. That so many lives are failures, or at least limited and saddened by diseases of mind and body, or tormented by doubt, discouragement, and despair. James Dekorne breaks down line 6 into A and B, 2 possible succinct definitions of the changing line. A. Severe disunion prevails, but need not be permanent if you seek a totally new connection. B. You have missed the point entirely. Now we will also read Hilary Barrett's take on these hexagrams and their changing line in Walking Your Path, Creating Your Future, I-ming. She can be very practical and also profound. She calls our primary hexagram 3 sprouting. Key questions. What is beginning? Where is the growing center, and where can you find help for it? Oracle. Sprouting, from the source, creating success, constancy bears fruit. Don't use this to have a direction to go. Fruitful to establish feudal lords. Sprouting is the very beginning, a growing center, putting out roots into the unknown and breaking through the hard soil. Inner life reaches out into the world, experiencing resistance for the first time. The creative drive of heaven and earth joins together and grows. It's tiny, scarcely born, but burgeoning with life and a great desire to attain full growth. It's far too early yet to narrow all the possibilities down to a single destination. Just as a plant sends out roots in all directions, a new ruler needs to set up a network of feudal lords. These are an image for helpers, human or otherwise. Everything that brings you support and expands your sphere of awareness and influence. In exploring all possibilities, you enrich and strengthen the center as growth begins. Image. Clouds, thunder, sprouting. A noble one weaves warp and weft. At the beginning, clouds and thunder swirl together in a creative ferment. The creative impulse rises like thunder and flows out into the world's confusion. The word for warp threads also means a canonical text and a channel where energy flows. These are the first principles. You can weave all the colors of experience into the structure they provide, translating creative chaos into a creative order. Sequence. There is heaven and earth, and so the 10,000 things are born. Overflowing the space between heaven and earth, the 10,000 things. And so sprouting follows. Sprouting means filling to overflowing. Sprouting means the beginning of things' birth. The sequence of the hexagram is born here from heaven and earth, hexagrams 1 and 2. This is a time of intense, overwhelming creativity. Pair. Sprouting forms a pair with hexagram 4, not knowing. Sprouting, seeing, and not letting go your dwelling place. Not knowing, disordered and also clear. You are like a new king surveying the realm without leaving his home at its center. Or you are like an infant who contemplates the world from the security of her cradle. Staying centered, you always know where you are. There will be time later to discover how much you don't know. And then hexagram 42, our supporting hexagram, increase. She calls it increasing. Key questions. What would you do if you knew you were blessed? What if there were no limits? What could change for the better? Oracle. Increasing. Fruitful to have a direction to go. Fruitful to cross the great river. The old Chinese character for increasing shows a pot filled to overflowing. It means blessing and superabundance, like the timely rain that brings a rich harvest. Increase simply flows without limit. There is no need for restrictive frameworks to contain it, but only for tools to work with it. When you are blessed, it is good to respond with purpose and movement. Participating in the increase, pouring more in, you receive more in return. Let yourself imagine where you want to be and take the first steps that commit you to going there. This is how to keep the momentum. Image. Wind and thunder, increasing. A noble one sees improvement, and so she changes. When there is excess, she corrects it. Wind and thunder are agents of change. Thunder is like the inner spark of initiative and will. Wind is a far-reaching influence in the world, free-moving because of its endless ability to shape itself to the terrain. So the noble one moves as decisively as thunder and with the versatility of the wind. She does not hold fast to a chosen direction, but responds to whatever opportunities for improvement she can see. Sequence. Increasing follows from hexagram 41, decreasing. Decreasing and not reaching an end must mean increasing. Decrease is the offering, emptying out the vessel. Increase is the blessing, the pot filled to overflowing. There is the willingness to have less and make things simpler, and the willingness to receive more and become richer. Each phase leads into the other, moving in a cycle. And changing line 6 of our primary hexagram, having the general context of beyond the main action, reviewing experience, asking what comes next. Also being the most focused part of our reading, taking precedence over all other elements. Line 6, now driving a team of horses, now tears of blood flow. The suitor drives out with his best horses, but there is no bride here for him to find. Pouring out the best of yourself in a concerted effort to forge ahead, you find no response, and your energy drains away. You're overextended, too narrowly focused on a single direction, and forgetting what a well-rooted relationship feels like. Dang it. I guess those two. All right. We will read from the Tao Te Ching, chapter 58, 29, I guess, 73 and 74. Translated by Jia Fu Fang and Jane English. Chapter 58. Oh my gosh. When the country is ruled with a light hand, the people are simple. When the country is ruled with severity, the people are cunning. Happiness is rooted in misery. Misery lurks beneath happiness. Who knows what the future holds? There is no honesty. Honesty becomes dishonest. Goodness becomes witchcraft. Man's bewitchment lasts for a long time. Therefore the sage is sharp but not cutting, pointed but not piercing, straightforward but not unrestrained, brilliant but not blinding. $29. Do you think you can take over the universe and improve it? I do not believe it can be done. The universe is sacred. You cannot improve it. If you try to change it, you will ruin it. If you tried to hold to it, if you tried to hold it, you will lose it. So sometimes things are ahead and sometimes they are behind. Sometimes breathing is hard, sometimes it comes easily. Sometimes there is strength and sometimes weakness. Sometimes one is up and sometimes down. Therefore the sage avoids extremes, excesses, and complacency. Hexagram 73. A brave and passionate man will kill or be killed. A brave and calm man will always preserve life. Of these two, which is good and which is harmful? Some things are not favored by heaven. Who knows why? Even the sage is unsure of this. The Tao of heaven does not strive, and yet it overcomes. It does not speak, and yet is answered. It does not ask, yet is supplied with all it needs. It seems at ease, and yet it follows a plan. Heaven's net casts wide. Though its meshes are coarse, nothing slips through. And 74. If men are not afraid to die, it is of no avail to threaten them with death. If men live in constant fear of dying, and if breaking the law means that a man will be killed, who will dare to break the law? There is always an official executioner. If you try to take his place, it is like trying to be a master carpenter and cutting wood. If you try to cut wood like a master carpenter, you will only hurt your hand.